Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Table Talk. I'm your host, Jake Combs, and tonight we're going to be diving into Warcry Sundered Fate. We also have the Warcry Rotten Ruin rulebook that is being released separately as well. And for those that are subscribing to Warhammer Plus, we're going to be taking a look at the new Chaos Sorcerer and discussing maybe some applications for using him in Warcry, or her rather. So let's go and get started. All right, so set that aside. We're going to first look at Mibalor Darkfang, Chaos Sorcerer, and all of her familiars. And while we got the knife out, I'm going to go ahead and break the seals. All right. Now, this model, by far, in my opinion, is one of the coolest looking Chaos Sorcerers around. So the assembly guide is a single page, which is not surprising considering that it's one model and then 4 smaller models. It is a single sprue. Take that out, and then with 5 different bases. So looking at it, a lot of great detail. Really looking forward to building and painting this model. Now, one of them kind of looks like almost like a gnome, or kind of a gnomish wizard maybe. One of them looks like kind of like a smaller version of Village. And then we have a couple other familiars. One of them is basically almost like a mimic Black Cauldron, but some very awesome models. You know, really looking forward to building and painting her. She definitely is going to be a lot of fun, but the detail is astounding. Now, for the Rotten Ruin book, this is the Warband tome that you can purchase separately. Now, that being said, from what I can tell, skimming through it already, because it did not come sealed, so we already took a look at it, and pretty much everything that we saw in here was exactly the same as the Rotten Ruin book that came with that Warcry box. So if you already have that box, you do not need to get this because it is exactly the same. Now, this is more for the people that are going to be purchasing these warbands or this terrain or both separately that weren't able to get that box. So we're not going to go into depth on that because we've already done it before. So now let's go ahead. Oh, I missed a couple seals. Half expected to find out that I missed some more. All right, now the first thing is just the smell of the plastic is a lot more overwhelming in this box than some of the boxes in the past, and I love that smell. Now, right off the bat, one of the first pieces that we see is some of the terrain. Now, one of them kind of looks almost like a molten pit full of skeletons and other bone pieces. Very macabre. One of them is stretched skin of some sort of animal hide. We see some of the fur on the back. The level of detail on these is just absolutely astounding. I mean, the fact that most of this is meant to be bone or bamboo, and the way that they all kind of work together just looks fantastic. But I mean, the detail on that spread out skin is absolutely amazing. This one looks very similar to one of the previous ones, but from what I could tell, none of the pieces are duplicates from the last box, because the intention is to be able to combine all of the boxes from the series into one large scale play area for regular Age of Sigmar. Now here's another one with mostly tree pieces, And again, just a lot of detail. The trees are meant to look like muscle running up them, and just a ton of detail there. Here we have some of our barricades as well as some of our bridges. And again, just so much detail. I love the stonework and the fact that we actually have some of the I can't remember what they're called all of a sudden, the lizard men, like some of their iconography that we see, because this was one of their temple ships that has crashed, that everyone's basically scrambling to try to raid. And then this massive skull that looks like about the size of a gargan's skull as part of the terrain as well. And then here we have a kind of a canopy made out of a collection of skins. And again, just so much detail, like with the skins, like some of them are scaled, some of them are kind of furry, some of them are more smooth. Again, just so much detail, so much attention to detail that most people would just simply overlook. And then our last two sprues are the warbands themselves. We have, let me look at the back, the Hunters of Huanchi and the Jade Obelisk. So the Jade Obelisk is a Tzeentch based warband. And I mean, the look of their armor is really awesome. I mean, just covered in kind of studs and spikes. Lizard scale shields, just so much detail. Like this one head over here, like around its neck is a pendant, and that pendant just has so much detail on here that it's astounding that they were even able to do all that on something so small. Really impressive work. By far some of the coolest looking Chaos warbands that we've had yet, in my opinion. For the lizard men, and this is driving me nuts because I can't remember, I want to say it's like Seraphon. I'm butchering it. Please, somebody post it in the comments below. Let me know what it is, because I'm feeling like an absolute idiot right now, drawing a complete blank. But with these kind of chameleon skinks and the pterodactyl-like creatures, I mean, there's so much detail here. I love the look of their shields. I definitely know that as far as those are concerned, I'm going to definitely be painting them, like some sort of jade or turquoise. With the scales themselves, I think most of these are going to be kind of like black and red lizards. Just because I think I like the look of that a lot better than the standard kind of greens that we usually see with most lizardmen players, or blues. But their aesthetic is just amazing. I love the look of these models and can't wait to get started on this set. Underneath them, we do have our insert, as we've come to expect with one of these boxes. We have our bag of bases, our cards, Stealth and Stone rulebook, as well as assembly guide and the ability cards. And then we have our map, or mat rather. All right. For the cards, the first half of them are our map cards. Then we have our victory cards, our twist cards, and then some of our deployment cards, and then our individual stat cards for each of the models. And again, the Seraphon, I'm pretty sure that's what it's called. If I'm wrong, again, please tell me. It's driving me nuts, but so we do have those stat cards as well. We're just going to take a look at a random twist and a random victory. So one of the twists is Acidic Muck. At the end of each battle round, allocate 2 damage points to each fighter on the battlefield floor. That's a pretty deadly twist. Basically, it's going to force you to be up in the trees and the bridges and such. One of the victories is the Most Dangerous Game. At the start of each battle round, each player starting with the attacker picks one enemy fighter to be a hunted fighter. At the end of each round, players score 1 victory point for each enemy hunted fighter that was taken down in that battle round. If the hunted fighter was an enemy leader, players score 2 victory points instead. If a hunted fighter had the greatest or was tied for the greatest wounds characteristic of all the enemy fighters and was not a leader, players score 3 victory points instead. Hunted fighters within 4 inches of a battlefield edge of the battle round are taken down, and the battle ends after 4 battle rounds. When the battle ends, the player with the most victory points is the winner. So pretty straightforward there. And then let's go ahead and open this thing up. Now, if you are a Age of Sigmar player, even if you don't play Warcry, I definitely would recommend getting these box sets just for the maps and the terrain, because by the time these are done, you're going to have a fantastic full table to play on with full maps. And I just love the detail of these maps, or mats rather. I mean, so much attention to detail there. They do a fantastic job. Now let's go ahead and open this up. And actually, before we do, let's take a closer look at those models. So here's the model for the Chaos Sorcerer. Definitely plan on using her to replace one of the existing Chaos Sorcerers in my Chaos Warbands. So here's the Seraphon models. Again, just so much detail. I'm really looking forward to building this warband. Probably more than I am actually looking forward to building this terrain, because even though this is some of the best looking Warcry terrain that we've had yet. And then here's the Jade Obelisk. I mean, these guys just look fantastic. And so like right here, this is like the head I was talking about, which is the attention to detail right there. I mean, zoomed in pretty far and you guys can see that barely. All right, now that we're done, we're gonna open this up. Take a look there. All right, so we have our 2 ability cards. So with the Hunters of Huanchi, their reaction is Slippery. A fighter can make this reaction after they have been allocated damage points by a melee attack action. This fighter makes a disengage action. Jade Obelisk, their reaction is Curse of Jade. A fighter can make this reaction when they are targeted by melee attack action, but before the hit rolls are made, subtract 1 from the damage points allocated by each hit and critical hit from the attack action to a minimum of 1. So definitely some cool reactions there. With the assembly guide, we do have where you can actually options for some of the different models, like the Chameleon Skink Hornblower. Two of the options are him as a hornblower, one with a dart pipe, one with a moonstone club, and then a third option where it's just a dart pipe instead of the horn. I know me personally, I'm going to go with one of the horned options for sure. But as far as the club or the dart pipe, it depends on how I do the rest of the loadouts. I do want to have a mix of melee and ranged fighters, so that's going to depend on the kind of overall balance that I have. But a lot of great detail, like always, as we come to expect from newer kits, showing as each piece is added. And then our rule book. So we're just gonna flip through this real quick. So it takes until page 30 before we actually get into the rules, as well as the stats in the book for the different models that came with it. Some painted pictures of all the terrain. So like this one that looks like a giant kind of a piece of spine is where that kind of bone pit is. Like this one right here, we have a massive skull coming out from underneath the tree. Forest Tactics, the Campaign of Conquest with our different actual quests in them. And I love the attention to detail with things like this. Definitely kind of helps immerse you into this a lot more, with the two different campaign arcs, campaign trees. They're definitely geared more towards having just these two warbands playing against each other for a campaign, and then playing kind of more generic missions for the other warbands that would play. But definitely a lot of really cool stuff in there. Can't wait to really dive into it and read it more. But we are running out of time today, and so just wanted to thank you guys as always for taking the time to check out the channel. Check out each of these episodes. We really do appreciate it. If you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button. It definitely would mean the world to us. But as far as that goes, we will continue bringing the best in tabletop content that we can, and look forward to seeing you guys next time. But other than that, you guys have a great night, and thank you again as always.